Welcome to the Recon Trader. In today's video, I will share with you my breacher trade strategy and show you how it's set up and just played out on BNB USDT on Binance 1 hour candle. And as you can see, it plays out perfectly on this 1 hour candle. That has still got about 12 minutes left, but the main momentum is starting to pull back a little. All right, so what is my breacher trade strategy? Well, basically, the breacher trade revolves around support or resistance levels. Now, support and resistance levels are the battlefield where bulls and bears wage their war for control of trend dominance and price direction. And if we look at this particular trade that was setting up on Binance, I started watching this trade several hours ago back in this range where the price kept getting pushed up to the 269 level and rejecting from that level on multiple occasions. Even on this wick here, it gets pushed up and rejects. And so I really started to watch this level for a breach of resistance in this situation. And as I started to see these pin bars, these long wicks on the bottom of these candles, and so that told me that the buyers or the bulls were stepping up each time this dipped down and pushing the price back up. And so that leads to how resistance levels are formed by passive selling. The sellers were not able to keep the price down, and the resistance level is most frequently broken by aggressive buying, and I was seeing those buyers step up. Now on the flip side, support levels are generally formed by passive buying and broken by aggressive selling. Now with that all being said, the breaching of a fresh range will bring about a greater response from participants. And in this situation, again, I'm on the 1 hour chart, so in my view, this is a fresh range that has been set up. So I am expecting a pretty big move towards the upside once we do breach this resistance. Now, had that resistance just been like, say, this level here, and then way over here, and then in here, that's resistance built up over a longer time frame, where the chart I was looking at are these 4 candles here, a short dip down of 3 candles, and then on the next 4th candle we touch again. This time frame is a more recent time frame, therefore in theory the pressure is building to break up with some force. And yes, at the beginning of the video, this 1 hour candle was the candle that was actually in progress. A couple hours have gone by. That's because I was in the middle of a couple other trades I needed to manage, so the video had to be put on the back burner. And so when one of the breacher trades is starting to set up, the strength and importance of support and resistance levels that I'm looking at is influenced by 4 main factors. And those factors are: how long did it take to form? And as I showed you on the chart, again, I was looking at the 1 hour chart. This was not a long time frame for this resistance level to build up. The next factor is volume during formation. And we started to see some increase in volume, like on this particular candle, we got a bump in volume, it kind of fell off. We start to see a gradual rise in volume, however, from the time that this initial candle hit the resistance the first time. We do start to see a slow ramp up in volume. And then when we breach that level, we definitely see the volume kick in. And part of the reason for that volume kicking in is everyone's looking at this level for resistance. There's been probably a whole lot of stops put at this level for your folks that were going short on this. And those positions got taken out, which will again cause a bigger reaction to the breach of this level. And then how recently falls kind of in line with the time it took to form. And again, it was very recent, as we saw on the chart. And then the last factor I'm looking at, which might be the most important factor of them all, is how many times has that level been tested. The more times that level has been tested, the more likely it will be breached. And again, we touch it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then on the 6th attempt, we breach. So with that all being said, you have to have a battle plan anytime you're going to engage a target. So in order to engage the target, I need support or resistance level to be breached. Now that's obvious given the name of the strategy. I also need to see increasing volume, which again, when we look back at the chart, we were seeing increasing volume. So now I'm starting to build confirmation. I also like to see the RSI 60 or 40, depending if I'm going long, then I want the 60. If I'm going short, I definitely want the 40 to be breached as well. Now, if we jump back over to the chart, you can see my RSI 60 levels, this yellow line on top, and we definitely get the breach of the RSI 60 level. So there's a second level of confirmation. We have rising volume, RSI 60 being breached. Now I need to ID the trend, and I did ID the trend. This was starting to trend up. And you can see the trend line is certainly moving up. So now I have 3 levels of confirmation. Now there is a wide variety of other factors that I could take into account. A lot of times what I look for are pin bars. And what pin bars look like are these wicks on the bottom of these candles are fairly long pin-like wicks, and to me that's a pin bar, and that indicates that the sellers are having a hard time keeping the price down because the buyers are pushing that price up. And we've got a long wick on this candle. There's not such a long wick there, but there's still a longer wick than body of the candle. Another long wick and a short body, a long wick and the red body here. The buyers are stepping up and pushing this price upwards. That is more confirmation that this is moving, and it's moving with pressure from the buyers. And I want that pressure because when we hit this resistance, I want it to explode through that level, and it does. And then the last thing I'll typically look at is other time frames to confirm. And what that will do, if we jump down to, say, the 15-minute chart, again, we're looking back at this section. Ignore this part here. We're looking at from this big bar backwards. And I started watching this, and here's all those hits. We actually get more hits. Now we have 3, 6, 7, 8. So on the 15-minute time frame, I have like 8 touches of the resistance. And again, I'm still seeing those longer pin bars, and the trend is definitely moving up, and this is on the 15-minute. Now, if we jump out to the 5-minute, again, I'm looking from this area back, and the same thing is happening. It's all trending in the direction I'd be looking at it for it to trend. Again, we'll jump back to the 15-minute real fast. If I want to look at that volume, here's the volume on the 15-minute chart as well, moving up and increasing to this bar. And so now I have confirmation on the shorter time frames, and now I have multiple confirmations. So when this busts through, I'm ready to jump in. And I actually did take the trade. And so when I jumped in, my order got filled at around 269.40. Now I have all my confirmations. I need to decide where I'm going to exit. And before I ever enter a trade, I need to know my profit target and my stop loss target before I enter, not after I'm in the trade. And so my exit strategy is typically on the breacher trade, the next level of resistance or support if I'm going short. If none, then. That's the if this then that type theory, and that's how your battle plans should actually work out. And so if there is no resistance or support, then I look at my risk versus reward ratio based on my stop loss level. And my stop loss is going to be extremely tight on the breacher trade strategy and just below the breached level. So if we jump back over to the chart, my profit target is actually going to be previous resistance in this situation, because there is previous resistance. We see this bar move up into this area, and if I check my 6 and look a little further back, there's some resistance back here at around the 274.57 range. And so I actually set my take profit at 274.57, which I did accomplish, and it was just about a 2% profit. And no, I didn't capture the top of the move all the way up here. I actually exited here. But with that being said, you can see that we have since rolled over from approximately that level. So you have to be realistic when you're setting your profit targets. If you want 6-7%, well, what makes you think this is going to go that high, given the fact it has resistance already built up at this level? So it's important to be realistic when you're setting your profit target. Now, my stop loss, I actually had set extremely tight at the top of the previous close of the candle, or in this case, the open of this candle, and that was a 0.28% stop loss. You're right. I didn't give it any room to maneuver, as that is not what this trade is about. This trade is about the fact we're going to breach this level. We're going to get a ton of momentum by breaching this level. We're going to start taking out stop losses. Short positions are going to have to start filling their orders. This price action should explode upwards. If it does not, then we don't really have a breacher trade in place. We just hit more resistance and are bouncing back. That's not what I'm looking for. And so to recap, my breacher trade basically revolves around support or resistance. In this case, it was resistance. And it's looking to breach this level with an explosive move. And I'm looking at multiple failed attempts of breaching this level. I'm looking at increasing volume, RSI. I'm looking at pin bars to confirm that the sellers in this case are not winning the battle. The buyers are proving to be dominant in this case. And then I start to look at profit targets based on previous support, or in this case resistance, or based on my stop loss percentage and a favorable risk versus reward ratio, which typically for me is going to be a 1-to-3 risk versus reward ratio. And in this case, had there not been previous resistance, my risk was around 0.3%, so my reward would have been around 1%, and I would have got out fast. As it turns out, I had previous resistance. I set my profit target there. We hit it. And it was a successful breacher trade. And I think that pretty much wraps it up. I wanted to share another one of my day trading strategies with you. And I will be sharing more of these in the future. So now would be a good time to shoot that subscribe button. If you like these type of videos, do me a favor, spike that like. If you have questions or comments, feel free to leave those in the comment section down below. And remember, never send your money into battle without first doing your recon. See you in the next video.